Well, this is a solar system update. There's just so many pressing things that are right at the forefront, and the situations are fluid and changing by the minute, it seems. All kinds of reports coming in regarding what's going on in China. But this is about, what's causing all this, what's triggering it, if this is a power play by filthy rich control freaks. Why now? What's controlling it? What's triggering this? Why not status quo? And that's because you can't maintain status quo. You can't fight the solar system, and you can only try to adapt to it and work with it. But you're seeing here is electron simulations. You're seeing high density electrons in our shells. That shell that dotted line around the Earth in this simulation is rung with electrons in that shell, and when it gets dense enough, our satellites, they don't like to work. They like to shut off, kind of like a circuit breaker. The background radiation is still 10 times higher than what our baseline used to be for certain wavelengths of X-rays. Magnetosphere that does show a lot of presence of turbulence, a lot of arrows going in the wrong direction, a lot of magnetic fields traveling in wrong directions. But the one that's kind of telling is the one that doesn't just measure particles. It measures energy in joules. So where all the particles are, in this case mostly electrons, where they are in an ocean of helium is highlighted by the energy they create. So you can assume that wherever there's high energy on this simulation, there is high particle concentrations. And the particle concentrations are well known, and to really look, a real-time look, like putting your head into a box and looking inside the box, we go to the white light at Mauna Loa Observatory that filters out other light, puts a dimmer on the telescope, and looks at the corona of the sun. The occulting disk prevents it from being overly washed out, but in the last few years, the sun has developed this white halo around it, and it's like a disk, but it's taking the shape again more of a cone. So anybody who's followed this channel has seen me use this instrument for the last 5-6 years, where we actually watch the metamorphosis of this cone. Creating the light is electrons traveling through plasma. And helium will light up when you run electrons through it, especially ionized helium. But if your general background of particles that normally used to be 1 particle per cubic meter is now 10 particles per cubic meter, 10 times, then you're going to have 10 times the energy, 10 times the light being produced by these interactions. This is why the sun is white hot now, as there are so many particles in the sun colliding, losing, gaining electrons, ionizing, accelerating, changing direction. It's just creating a lot of energy in the corona, and that corona is putting off all kinds of radiation, including gamma radiation, but a lot of extreme ultraviolet. And electrons create such a vast array of different energies depending on temperature, speed, the change of direction, and how abrupt it is, collisions, non-collisions, annihilations, so have you. They produce all kinds of radiation, but they are the main source of gamma radiation inside our own solar system. And all of these diagrams show you that we have a lot of electrons. And for the last 3-4 years, they've been reporting high electron flux, but background protons only. Well, if the electrons were supposed to have come from the hydrogen, turning the hydrogen into a proton and separating out the particles from one another, electron and the proton, and creating two sets of particles, an electron and a proton, then where have all the protons gone? From whence these electrons came from? So it's obvious there's an extra source of electrons in the solar system, and that the really common chemical equation is when helium-3 runs into a proton and gobbles it up like fly paper. And that forms helium-4, and we've seen that the ratios have been changing, and just when we're getting ready to do a report on those ratios, half the helium measuring instruments were poof, they just kind of went away. But so all of this heat, all of this radiation is killing the oceans, killing the fish, killing the birds, killing off the food supply. It's taking away our fresh water. Now the salmon are paying a price. I mean, the food chain is just falling down domino after domino. So it doesn't take a fool to see that another year or two of this intense solar radiation, it's going to be hard to afford food anymore. So to prevent there from being any type of widespread social unrest that would jeopardize control of the planet, then something has to be done to maintain that control. And of course, the ideal situation would most likely be a plague, because that leaves your infrastructure standing, it leaves your banking working, it leaves your communications open so you can communicate to the people. You know, everybody wants to know about survival tips, and we've given out a few throughout the years, just real basic stuff. Basically, then, I was just going to talk about what you put in your 3-day bag and common items that you should never leave out of your three-day backpack. And I always am a peanut butter thing. I mean, peanut butter lasts forever. I had some sit in the trunk of a car for 3 years, opened it up, it was still edible. Did I eat it? No. You know, because of the heat and the plastic, and I just didn't eat it, but it was there in case I needed it, and it only cost a couple bucks back then. So peanut butter's always got a lot of calories in it, and protein and fat, and the name brand stuff has sugar in it, so you're getting a lot of calories with just the peanut butter. Water, a bottle of water, you know, water weighs a lot, so you want a little water right now, but you also want a survival straw, which is a water filter that's the shape of a little tube, and you drink through it when you're drinking from contaminated water. That can provide you 50 gallons of drinkable water right there. Well, that 50 gallons weighs a lot, so not if it's a survival straw. So those, you know, if you don't have one in your backpack, something's not right with your logic. And you must live on a river or a creek. The other thing too is, you know, naturally a source of fire, lighter, magnesium, you know, or both. Flashlight, couple of them. iPod. You know, if you're spending 3 nights by yourself somewhere, it's nice. Sometimes it might be nice to have music to get you through some really dark times. Protein bars, we like the dry stuff because it just seems like it keeps forever. Anything moist, then you got to worry about other things growing. And then if that's the case, then they're going to put preservatives in it. So, you know, dry stuff works. Self-protection, mace, And then if you carry, put it in your pack. You can keep the ammo separate, but it's nice to have that. If you have to abandon a vehicle, you put this pack on. It's nice to have something to protect yourself with. Fire. We talked about fire, flashlights. I would bring, extra pair of underwear and socks. Sounds stupid, but fungal infections are the last thing you need to get during a crisis. And Ziploc bags are nice to have, and cordage. Ziploc bags you can use to carry water, store water. It could be used to transport, but you can also put your dirty clothes in there and zip it up for when you have chance to clean. Hand sanitizer, nice to have in your survival pack. And I think walkie-talkies are some way of two-way communication. It may be a waste of time, if you're more than 5 miles away from your second walkie-talkie. But it's sure, if the phone goes down, if the circuits are busy. I mean, after 9/11, nobody could call in or out on a cell phone for at least 24 hours. And so it's nice to have a communication if you're within a couple miles, 2, 3, 4 miles of a rendezvous point. So be thinking about walkie-talkies or CB radio. CB radios are heavy, but they're pretty basic. And you just got to know which channels to operate on. It also gives you an emergency channel, so you can monitor and you can also transmit on an emergency channel. So give that a thought. And then of course the thermal blankets, you can buy them as cheap as $3-4 without seams, without grommets and holes and tie rings, without lining. You could just get naked mylar blankets for $3-4. They're very, very light. You could put 2 or 3 in a backpack, no problem. 1 in the car even, and that's going to give you some real good thermal protection. Plus, it gives you solar protection. If you're stuck at noon on a gridlock highway and you got to abandon your vehicle, it's nice to have something that you could drape over yourself that's going to block out all that radiation. You're going to need it. It's going to be survival. But you can talk about the backpack itself. And people think of 3-day packs, and they think of what your kid carries to school. I bought a bunch of these for Christmas gifts last year. They still have these in surplus, and in military surplus sometimes is a great place to buy camping and survival gear. People think of a 3-day pack, and this is significantly bigger than what you would expect. The middle compartment, or the main compartment, is 18 inches by 12, and so you can see that's just that middle main compartment is as big as your kid's school book backpack. So then all the rest is extra space, so you get an idea of you can hold a lot of stuff in that bag. What I liked about it too was the polyester, mylar, and CVC linings. They help keep this waterproof and keep it actually ultraviolet proof too. It has side pockets, 2 on each side. It's a tactical bag. People put ammunition and clips in those bags, but they're ideal for all kinds of stuff. They got little loops that you can tie stuff on. You can tie all kinds of things onto that bag. And then you have smaller side pockets. Some of them are long, some of them are short, but Then it has straps that you bind around the sternum to hold it in place. And when I saw these on sale, I bought a bunch. I sent one back because the lining was flaking, and I got a feeling that there's going to be some flaking on some of the insulation lining for the water bladder. So you can put your own water bladder in there and keep it insulated. And I think that insulation is going to have a tendency to flake off. To me, it was about how many square inches of storage am I going to get in a backpack per dollar, and these by far were massive, and for the price anyways. So you could spend more money, but this is pretty high quality. Even the zippers were pretty stout. But of course, the weakness in the zipper is the actual stitching in the lining. So you don't want to overpack anything. But this is going to be hard to overpack. And so I like this product. I'm looking at another bag too, but so far I recommend this one, made by N-Star or C-Star, I forget. I can throw you a link up if you'd like to check it out. You could do worse. And this, I can't really emphasize this enough. Mylar blankets, in that little hand pouch there, single blanket could be $3 to $4. You can get several of them, put them in your backpack, but also leave some in the car, just so if the backpack ever gets separated, you still have these in the car. If you break down and you're stuck in dreadlock traffic and you have to abandon your vehicle in the middle of summer, in the middle of the day, this will save your life. This is shade. This not only blocks out visible light, but it blocks out the extreme ultraviolet and ultraviolet as well, and even reflects some of the x-rays. I bought these Mylar blankets. They're like 5x7s, and I liked they were reinforced, and the grommets I liked because then I could use it as a shelter. For a lot of reasons. You can also stake it or anchor it to the ground or tie it to somewhere to something. It was just, and you can even make clothes out of it with drawstring and make a poncho out of it. So I bought these. And I'm happy with them. They're really still very lightweight, but if you these Mylar ponchos for cold at night and for shade during the day, for the price, they can save your life. If you ever wondered how $3.50 could save your life, right there, there's one thing. I just want to say this again about peanut butter. It keeps really well. Look for sales, buy it, and get yourself some. Put it in each and every 3-day pack. Try to keep it out of the sun, out of direct sunlight. It'll keep forever. Calories and protein, and what you need to get through your 3-day pack, and it'll last longer. It'll last longer than 3 days if you get a couple of these to go. Take a little peanut butter and put it on your protein bar. These are just some things that I throw out of showing you what some of the stuff that I bought and I use. Those water straws come in handy, and they used to be 70% cheaper. They have really gone up in price, and probably will continue to do so. So until next time, stay prepared.